Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. Thank you for joining us on episode 111 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with Trevor and Damon. How's it going, guys?
Doing well. Busy today.
Busy.
Yeah. Busy.
busy. You on the show or just in life?
No, not the show. Other shows, I mean, just, got other podcasts to do today.
Damon has a full schedule.
Yeah, and the problem is that so we're recording in the afternoon on Sunday. I'm doing the other podcast later today. I haven't even finished the show we're talking about. So I'm a little behind a little bit.
Oh, gee. You're just going to have to fake it.
No. I have
get the cliff notes.
I have two more 45-minute episodes left. Nice. And I have 4 hours. So hopefully I'll get there. I'll make it work.
Well, I just did too. I didn't even tell you guys this. I kept this to myself. I did a guest spot on a DCL Duo podcast. I don't know when that's going to show
fantastic.
up, but yeah,
great.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. I don't know when that's going to happen, but
did you plug the heck out of us?
Of course. Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
I'm a plug machine, man. The only reason I go on anybody else's show is to plug our show. So I'll have to ask Brian when that one's coming out. But we're talking a little bit. We got...
Wait, is that the cruise one or no?
Yeah, it's the cruise one. Yeah, it's DCL.
What are you doing on a cruise show? You haven't even been on a cruise.
They wanted to talk... No, they wanted to talk DVC. So we didn't really talk cruise. We talked to DVC. So, yeah, it was good. Not that I'm the DVC expert, but for some reason, people seem to think we know something. So
Trevor's really the DVC expert. Let's be honest. We all have a role on this show.
Oh, boy.
His role is expert.
Well, how many people have told us, though, that they listened to our show and then learned about DVC and then bought it? And I'm like, I feel bad that you learned about it from our show. I feel like you didn't get enough information.
No.
But,
Well, then maybe we need to step up our information giving game
I don't
here.
think so. I mean, it's not like we're not members. I mean, it's not like you go on a cruise show, when you've never been on a cruise. It's nothing like that.
Again, we didn't talk about cruising. We talked about DVC.
No, but what I mean is, if only we had some experts here that we could talk to about.
Oh, man. Professional transition.
Yeah.
That's great. So we teased this a little bit on our Facebook page, and we're really excited to welcome back Derica and Marissa to the show from DVC Resale Market. They're our good friends. They've been on this show as long as we've existed, I feel like. They've been here. I don't even know how many visits this has been for you guys, but you guys have been here a bunch.
I think it's our 713th visit.
Thanks for keeping track, David.
And yet we're still not the experts because it is still Trevor.
It's still Trevor.
Oh, man.
Yes. You win.
That's really funny. So you guys haven't been on since, I think it was October of last year. So we probably have some new listeners since then. So let's do a brief intro to you guys and your DVC background real quick because we have a ton of questions today. We want to make sure we get into all of them. So.
Well, hi, and thanks for having us. So my name is Marissa.
All right, thanks. You're all set.
Thanks, Derek. That's me. My name is Marissa. For those of you who I haven't met, I know I've gotten to know a lot of the Welcome Home listeners. I'm originally from California, which kind of started my Disney journey at Disneyland, led to Disney Cruise Line, where I was on and off for about 10 years, met a lot of the DVC team that cruised out there, decided, that's a really awesome way for families to take a vacation. So I joined the DVC team, moved to Orlando. My husband and I actually worked on the ships together and then decided to make Orlando home. Jumped onto DVC, worked there at Disney World, and then said, I kind of miss the cruise ships. So I was part of the DVC team on the ships for a few more years. And then my husband and I decided to have a little one. So we had a little boy and tried to kind of figure out next transitions. And working in DVC, it's such a great way for families to vacation, but finding DVC Resale, we had known Nick Cotton, the owner of our company, as friends for many, many years working on the ships. And resale is really, really fantastic because it's a way to help families not only buy at a better value, but also families who are maybe kind of turning that chapter into something different and needing to sell. So I jumped on, joined the team with DVC Resale. have a blast doing that. I'm actually now our sales and marketing director, so love what I do. Get to do these fun podcasts and to educate.
Congratulations!
Thanks, guys.
Is that's new since
That's
the last
new
time you've been on the show,
October,
right?
that's for sure. Yeah.
She's sitting on a big giant throne. Stop. Very impressive. Yeah. So hey, welcome everybody. My name is Derek, and thrilled to be here. I know that Damon has a lot of stuff to do today, so I promise I'll keep my bio to about 3 to 4 hours. But
You're making me feel bad already, huh?
I'm kidding. Yeah. So I was blessed enough to work for Disney for about 20 years. Began as the marketing manager up there in Chicago for Disney Parks and Resorts, and became a member of DVC back in 1999, and got married at the Wedding Pavilion in 96. So basically, I'm a big giant Disney nerd that lucked into working for Mickey Mouse for about 20 years, and came over to DVC in 2007 up there in Chicago, where we had a DVC preview center. Joined the cruise team in 2014. Sailed the world for almost 100 cruises, which is where I got to meet Marissa and do a bunch of member cruises and regular cruises, teaching folks about DVC. And then the stars aligned and came over here to the DVC resale market with Marissa and some awesome former Disney cast members, where we get to help folks buy, we get to help folks sell, and it really is just the absolute dream job. We get to talk to amazing folks and amazingly smart listeners that you guys have, and we absolutely love what we get to do. So once again, thank you for having us on and letting us spread the magic.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, so we wanted to make sure we had you on for the new year, and got to talk to you guys a little bit, and there's been some new stuff going on with you guys, where there's the new partnership with DVC Rental Store and Monera, so that's really cool with World of Disney. So I don't know if you guys want to talk a little bit about that, or tell us a little bit about how that works, with buying a DVC resale contract and financing it with Monera, because I know Damon has actually talked about doing that. He said he kind of wants to do his next contract that way. So I think that would be interesting to hear about.
I think he said he's going to do it within the next 13 minutes, so we're super excited to get him on.
Yeah, that would be great.
He does. He wants to do a purchase live on the show. Like that's what
I will.
he wants to do.
I definitely will do that, but I think we're going to get into that in some other questions later down the line.
Yeah, so thank you, Tom. So yeah, we're very, very excited. So I'm sure a lot of folks might have seen online that, we basically kind of become this awesome conglomerate, really, where we've kind of taken the best parts of Disney Vacation Club with the DVC resale market, and we've teamed up with the DVC rental store and a financing partner in Monera. So now we are all under one fabulous umbrella, which is called the World of DVC, which Marissa, I know you can speak, especially with your fancy new title. You can probably talk about.
I just want to know who's the thimble, who's the top hat, and who's the dog.
Nick would definitely be the thimble, I think, or the top hat. Yeah.
So what was cool about that is we really wanted to create something that's destination for everything DVC. And I think that's really, really special. Again, coming from the Disney side, the unique thing about Disney Vacation Club on the Disney side is they're really only there to help people buy and finance. So we really wanted to create that kind of one-stop platform to be able to have our guests come on, and not only can they buy, they can sell, they can finance, they can rent their points or rent out points if they need more for a specific vacation. So we wanted to make that a one-stop shop. So yes, we collaborated and joined forces with DVC Rental Store as well as Monera, and that encompasses World of DVC. We just launched and finalized our fantastic new offices. So if you're ever in Orlando, we have really, really cool offices to come and host guests and do different events coming soon. So we're super excited about that, and a lot more to come with it. But really what we want to focus on is just kind of that ease for our guests. So if you're coming on our site, ideally, probably in the next couple months, you're going to be able to see a loan calculator right there on our site. So you can say, hey, I like this contract. What's the down payment? What's the monthly payment right there in front of you without having to switch back and forth? Yeah. Same thing with rental. If you're looking to sell, and let's say you have a ton of points that maybe are going to expire within that closing process, we want to be able to help you rent out those points, maybe get a couple $1,000s in rental, and then turn around and still be able to sell your contract. So we really want to make sure that we're able to service our guests on all elements of DVC.
We can really take them from like beginning to end, even if someone's not a member, right? They might say, I'm not ready to buy, but you know what, can I just rent points and try it out for a trip? And then they have a fabulous time, and then they come back and say, I'm ready to buy a contract, but how do I pay for this contract? Then you've got Monera that's all right there. So it really is everything under one umbrella, which just makes it so great.
Well, essentially you took the three best companies in each field, right? I mean, it's number one DVC, the DVC resale market is number one DVC reseller, and rental store number one, Monero number one. So you guys just basically made yourselves the best company you could possibly be for all DVC needs, right? So
This was the plan.
Yeah,
was the
that's
goal.
good. Yeah.
Next step is world domination.
That's funny. Yeah, so that's great. And so we got a lot of questions as
Great.
usual from our listeners, and some fun ones in there because our listeners are funny and silly. So I don't. Yeah, you guys know how our listeners.
Yes,
So.
that's why we love them.
Yeah, I'll read the first one from Francisco here since I guess I'm already talking. He says, we're planning on adding points once we pay off our current contract. I'm on the fence between simply adding points or purchasing a larger contract with the points we want and selling my old contract. Is it a common practice, or do you think it's easier to just buy a smaller contract? Also, if new regulations come up in the future for new contracts before this happens, then obviously I would keep my current contract to be grandfathered in. So what do you guys think about that?
So we actually see this happen a lot. I think a lot of people go kind of look into the stars and go, if I could only change out this contract and get a different one or a new home resort. Well, we actually have members do that all the time. And I think what happens is people go, they buy kind of whatever Disney's selling at that time. They use their membership for a few years and go, you know what? I really actually needed more points, or I like a different home resort. So that's the really great thing is we can help people say, hey, let's go ahead and sell yours first. Wait until we're close to closing on that and we'll help you buy a new one and help on all aspects. So we do have people doing that. I mean, I probably have a couple people a week that do that, to be honest. Yeah. The flip side is if you're just saying, hey, I only need about 50 more points and I want to keep it in the same home resort, depending on when you bought in and what you paid for that specific resort, it may make sense to just keep your original contract and then add on a new one in terms of any sort of changes. Now, the good news is we haven't heard anything in the rumblings that there are going to be any new resale changes. But what typically happens is if you're under contract, so not necessarily even closed, and let's say Disney does make a change, usually they're going to go ahead and grandfather you in if you've already had a commitment to purchase. That's what they did in the big 2019 change. So anybody who had a signed contract by both buyer and seller, even though it was going to be another 60 to 75 days before it closed, Disney did honor that purchase agreement. And so they were grandfathered into that new 2019 wave. So I wouldn't worry too much about, if I'm trying to do this process and I sell and then all of a sudden there's changes, it's likely you'll probably be able to jump on that ahead of time.
Great. Yeah, I think that's great. Trevor or Damon, you guys want to read a question? I feel like
I'll jump in here. So Becky has one. How do you guys come up with a new phrase to make DVC resale market announcements sound interesting every week?
Wow. Well, first of all, Becky, thank you so much for calling the announcements interesting. So that actually makes us very happy. So I'm kind of curious, in her question, Marissa and I were talking about this too. Is she talking about the announcements that you guys make, or is she talking about our ROFR announcements that we post?
I think it's your ROFR announcements that you post. Where you always have like a different like quote in there or like something fun in there. Yeah, right. I think that's what she's referring to.
Yes. So here's the deal with the ROFR announcements, right? We used to make them, honestly, every time we got a batch in. And they can come in, honestly, 7 days a week, any time of day. They used to kind of come in and go, here's 7 here, here's 10 here, here's 20 here. And we used to post them every single time. But once, we started to think and say, it kind of becomes like white noise. You know what I mean? Just to post like 8 names here or 20 names here. So we're like, let's try to do it like once a week and try to get them out there in one big giant lump sum. So we can be anywhere from, 50 to last week we had like 200. And we thought, well, let's just not put the names there because it is such an exciting thing for people to be able to, it's not necessarily that they're finding out that they passed ROFR by seeing the ROFR posts that I make, but because our admin team has already told them, but we've had people, and I know Marissa has, that say, hey, you know what, we actually printed out that ROFR page that, was on the Welcome Home podcast page, and we actually printed it out and we framed it, so we have it in our office and we highlighted our name on it. So it's a big deal when people see that. Me personally, it's just a thing where I like to think of, okay, let's find a fun little Disney quote of the day, whether it's tied into an attraction or whether it's tied into a movie or whether it's tied into whatever, just trying to keep it fresh and exciting because I know Becky likes to keep things fresh and exciting, so I want to make sure that we keep her entertained, which I was able to have drinks with her last month. So
that's right.
I was able to meet her at Copper Creek, and we had a couple of drinks, and I got to meet her and her husband, which was awesome. So I loved being able to actually meet one of your listeners face to face, socially distanced, of course.
That's so funny because I forgot that was Becky that you met up with.
That's
right. Awesome.
That's her. Yeah.
I think Damon should ask this next question.
Yeah.
This feels like a Damon question.
All right, this is from Alexis, who is a friend of a friend, by the way. My only question.
Oh, is that why Alexis is harassing you?
Yeah, it's a friend of a friend. So, my only question is when are they getting Damon to commit live to? Oh man, look at this! I have too many things up on the screen. To adding points. Okay, whew, that's tough. So I always look at it a few different ways, right? So I have a few things that have to be knocked out before I think about points first. And I'm sure everyone doesn't care, but I'm going to tell everyone anyway. And I'm sure one of our 1-star listeners will love to hear what I have to purchase prior to buying Disney points. So I am currently in the midst of getting a custom kennel made for my dog. I don't know if you guys have seen, like currently my dog loves to sleep in a cage at night, right? But a cage is terrible looking, so now they make these, ones that are like furniture kennels. So that's currently what I'm in the midst of. I have to get the seat in the car fixed, and let's see, what else? There's one more thing. And finish plantation shutters. So I've been putting in plantation shutters myself in the house because it's just way too expensive to get people to put in plantation shutters, and they're so easy to put in. So I have a few more of those that have to be purchased. So after that, that's definitely on the list. It's been approved by the family as a purchase. The only problem here is that my laziness is going to get in the way. So what I would tell Derek and Marissa is that I would 100% write a check at the end of the day, but I don't want to do any of the work. So if someone was to find me points and that my monthly payment was, let's say $200 to $300 a month, I'm in. Sign me up. I'll do it. That's all it takes.
If you finance through Monero, though, too, you only have to put, you don't have to put that much down, right? When you do that?
They just changed their down payment options, which is really awesome, especially for a lot of people who haven't checked out Monero's new site in a while. So what they've done is, especially if you're saying, hey, we know we want to buy something now, take advantage of buying resale and the savings, but we may not be going to Disney for the next year or so. So if you're looking at a contract that's stripped out, that doesn't have points until next year, it's a huge saving because one, you're not paying for dues. And if you're not taking a vacation in the next year, you're not needing the points. But two, because of that, you're not paying extra for the dues. And you can literally get a lot of these down payments down to $1,500. And we're seeing, I've ran numbers. Reach out to me if you have questions. But I've ran numbers on a ton of different scenarios where you can find up to 200-300 points with that $1,500 down payment. So
here's the question. I just bought a new car, right?
Mm-hmm.
I put down $0 because that's just me. I don't want to do anything. So I just said, hey, bring me a car. They came to my house. They brought the car. They dropped off the car. They dropped off the paperwork. I signed 2 things and didn't have to do anything. Is there a 0 down contract? That's what I'll be interested in.
There's no such thing as that yet.
That hurts.
What you can do is you can put that deposit on a credit card, get a no interest credit card.
Yeah, I don't want all of that. I just want to sign 2 pieces of paper and then get monthly payments. Talk to Nick about that.
I can help you with that. The down payment I can't. And I don't know a seller that will let you buy from them without any sort of deposit
but I can
down.
buy
So
it.
that's a different.
But I can buy a car for $40,000 and not have to put a dime down. Why is that?
It's not real estate.
but it doesn't matter. The contract's still way less than $40,000 with the ability for them to take it back with really no downside.
Right.
I don't know.
If you're buying from a seller and you don't have a deposit down, and let's say you cancel after 60 days on the market coming up to closing and there's no money, then the seller's out of luck.
You couldn't take the contract back?
So let's say that you're not closed yet and it's the sellers. They could take it back, but they get nothing for being off market. Right. So it's the same as real estate, right? Nobody's going to let you buy a house without any sort of money in escrow.
So what you could put down as collateral would be a customized dog shelter and some plantation shutters.
If I could do that,
if you want to come, Derek's house could use some plantation shutters. We might be able to work something out.
I'll be honest with you though. That is definitely for me personally more of a stumbling point because I'm Mr. Buy everything with no money down, right? I just want to write checks out every month, and I don't really want to ever put out money. I just want to write checks every month. That's why I just bought this car, because it was easy, right? I didn't have to do anything. talk to Nick about that. Have him come up with some funky ways to make that happen.
And we'll get around some sort of like real estate laws too, but we'll get that.
Exactly.
We'll figure something out.
I fully expect that.
I fully expect to get around real estate law.
Hey, whatever happened to the DVC resale market? They got shut down out of nowhere.
Weird.
But are there actual, like, you can't buy any real estate with no money down? Not anything?
I mean, you could potentially, if the seller lets you, on the other end, who says, yeah, I'm totally fine with you buying my house and putting nothing in escrow and me taking it off the market.
Yeah.
So
when I sold my last house,
no, this would be a first.
David's like, I would
doesn't
love
see-
to find one of those unicorns out there.
but so what's interesting though is I sold my last house, and I want to say that the seller put down like $500 in escrow. It was nothing. Absolutely zero, because I knew where she was coming from, right? She was coming from New Jersey. I understood what her job was. I just like, yeah, whatever, $500 doesn't really matter to me, right? So, I mean, that's again, like I live in this world of La La Land where those things just happen. So I was just like, okay, like $500, what does it matter? Like
Things just happen for David. It's
There we go.
$500.
If you can make that 1,500, 500 here, I'm going to make it. I'll make it somewhat easier. How about 500 down, and I'm in.
All right, so let's do 500 today, and then next month another 500, like monthly payment, right? You like the monthly, so we'll do 500 today, 500 next month, and then 500 in 60 days,
there you go.
and then your payments start on day 90. So we're good. We'll figure it out.
That's what I like to hear.
And a big batch of cookies to put on top of it. It'll be perfect for you.
Exactly. I like that Derek actually liked my cookie post because again, I was very disappointed in the lack of cookie likes.
You basically were kind of shamelessly pandering for people. Like,
I was
so sad. I was so sad because I thought I was going to hit this number and I didn't. I'm like, all right, let me go back and find the post. I got to like it first.
So
Wait, wasn't your over under 16 and you're at 16 now, I think?
No, I think I'm at 18 now.
Oh, okay. So now you're over. Okay.
Yeah. But so the thing is like, I'm on this whole s'mores kick now for whatever reason. So this week, what it was is I made s'mores brownies, peanut butter style. So they
Peanut
were
butter s'mores?
Excuse me?
Peanut butter s'mores? That's what you're saying?
No, not really. So what it was is a layer of graham cracker crust on the bottom, right?
Good.
And then a layer of peanut butter, a little bit of confectionery sugar, right, to give it a little bit more thickness than just regular peanut butter. Then brownies on top of that, and then marshmallows on top of that. It was so good and sickening all at the same time. That was the problem. It was really good, but it was a little over the top. I do have pictures though. I'll make sure I post them next week.
Yeah, dude, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I just don't like marshmallows. Marshmallows just ruin the whole thing for me.
I was going to
They're
ask you
easily
guys if-
peelable off, by the way, though.
Okay, all right.
I was going to ask if either Derek or Marissa, if either one of you guys have been to Gideon's yet, because I keep seeing the pictures and I'm so
man.
jealous. I want to
Mine's
go.
Crazy. So I went to Disney Springs like 2 days after Christmas. So I'm a crazy person. Derek's like, "What are you doing? Go home." It's like I'm gonna take my family to Disney Springs. And so I was like, and Gideon's is open, and we're gonna get in line. I had this whole like magical plan. And then I'm like, look, the door is open. So I tried to walk up the stairs, and they were like, oh, no, the line's this way. It's like a 3-hour wait, but it's right around the corner. And I was like, all right, so we're not getting cookies.
I had that day it actually opened. I think it was on New Year's Eve, if I'm not mistaken, because my son's girlfriend came to our house on New Year's Eve, and she showed up. She lives literally like right behind the Magic Kingdom, goes to the Disney parks like 3 times a week. So she shows up at our house on New Year's Eve with this bag, big giant bag, yeah. And I'm like, what is this? And she's like, oh, we just went to Disney Springs, and we waited in line because I wanted to bring Owen, who's my son, some cookies for New Year's Eve. And so she waited in line for 4 hours on New Year's Eve and brought over literally 10 cookies from Gideon's. And I was like, what? You have them? It was like, you open up the bag and you hear that music it was, they were so
I live the next
flipping
block over.
good.
You didn't bring me
We had there was nothing to bring.
You had 10 cookies.
There was nothing to bring.
I can't believe it.
And literally, and the best part about it is you see them and they look massive, but they're not that big if you just slowly eat them in little bits, right? So
Or
you
share them with your
break off
neighbor.
a bit and you walk over there, then you come back, break off another bit. But oh my God, the chocolate chip one, the toffee one, they're all,
I can't
they were
even
amazing.
sit next to you right now.
You're like the sales director. Don't you have like an in?
I have nothing.
Go
I
flash
have
them your
no
credentials.
cookies, nothing.
But yes, they're amazing. So definitely, they're honest to God, they're worth it. They're so good, and the place looks super cool inside too, which is what makes it even cooler for me.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I really want to eat those cookies. Like but then I was even looking on their website. I was like, I wonder if they'll ship them to us. No, they don't ship. You can only get them there. And I think when they had their grand opening, it was like a 12-hour line. We were joking about it, but there was like a 12-hour line on their grand opening. So yeah, it's crazy. So, well, at least you got to have some, Derek. Sorry, Marissa.
Ah, man, this is news to me.
This interview is going downhill fast.
I'm a little shook over here.
Oh, man.
The sales director is going to take away working hours from me. Like, what happened?
That's funny. All right, I guess we should ask some more DVC questions.
Yeah, we should probably get away from the cookie topic before it gets crazy.
We get way out of no, that's okay. That's why Derek and Marissa like coming on here. We can't stay focused, and we're all over the place. So I'll read this one from Crystal. What are the trends Derek and Marissa are seeing with timelines for closing? Has Disney been slower this month or so for eStoppels and adding members, loading points, etc., due to the layoffs announced in November?
Yes.
Yeah, they've been slower.
No, well, here's the good news. There's actually, light at the end of the tunnel. So it has been getting a lot better. So for a while there, kind of right after the layoffs, it was no joke. I mean, it was kind of rough. Meaning, you'd have to tell people.
Not necessarily the layoffs. It was really after the shutdown.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know, their admin team that does a lot of the estoppels and transfers, it's made up of like 2 people. So
yeah, you think that there's this huge, massive department like a Disney estoppel and Rofer department. No, it's like 2 people that work there. So when all of that happened during the shutdowns and everything else, everything was just delayed. So everything was still going through. It was just taking a lot longer, meaning, Rofer, I think, we'd always tell people, up to 30 days, but we were looking at some stuff was 45 days.
And even went to like 55 at the long
days. And then that's kind of the process that most people don't really think about is they think, the long wait is going to be the Rofer process. But actually, it could be what happens even after the Rofer process.
Yeah, so what we saw too, again, because it is about 2 people that work at Disney, they were transitioning to work from home, which they weren't set up for. And it's not like a lot of like normal businesses where you go work from home, you grab your laptop and work in your office. Disney has so many rules and steps around that. And again, it's people's private information. So they have to have a secure location and a secure hookup. So it can take months to get people approved for work from home. So they were immediately trying to do that with all these member service admin teams. So that was really what was probably taking most of the delay in terms of timeline. And then what happened was in terms of like closing, normally once closed, you wait a couple weeks and you've got your welcome home email and you log in and points are in your account. But it was taking about a month to set up the accounts and then another 7 to 10 days. So we're talking 5 to 6 weeks after people closed before points were getting into their account. The good news is probably as of like August of last year, Disney was kind of going back to pacing timeframes in terms of normal. So although the layoffs happened in November, it really, they almost already had that pre-planned and set ahead of time. So they knew what their steps would be like. So that wasn't affected because they were back to running as normal. Yes, they have a lighter staff, but they're back to running normally. And right now we're seeing everything as it was before the shutdown.
Well, that's good. Go ahead, Trevor. Sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say, no, that's good. And thanks for the insight there. That's, I guess the work from home thing, you're right, is, for most of us, it's, I guess, was easier. I didn't think about all the security that would go into, Disney making sure that people's information is protected, and, good on them for doing so. Mm-hmm. I guess, so to keep things moving along, Crystal has another question for you guys. I don't know how far we want to get into this one. It's kind of a big question. So
might have to keep it basic.
Yeah. She says, in general, which DVC resorts are preferred by various ages? For example, I assume, BCV would be a favorite for tweens and teens because of Stormalong Bay. And, for young kids, like closer to Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom. Do you guys see any kind of patterns, I guess, around, the types of families that are looking for different areas on the resort?
Sure. Yeah. No, that's a great question. Obviously, the great thing about DVC is that, there's something for everybody out there, right? So we have families that, once they think that they're going to stay in one location, but then one trip they try another one and they fall in love with that one maybe for a few years. And that's honestly, what I love about DVC is that the resorts, can actually grow with you. So I think in general, it's kind of a no-brainer. So when we talk to families that do have young kids, they obviously gravitate towards, the Magic Kingdom resort areas, right? Bay Lake, Grand Floridian, Polynesian, just because of the location to the Magic Kingdom, right?
And the ease of use.
And the ease
got a stroller.
If you've got a stroller, again, if you're at the Magic Kingdom in the middle of the day to be able to, walk back to your resort or take a boat back or watch the fireworks from the beach. So that's a huge one for families. And then obviously when those kids, maybe get a little bit bigger, maybe they want to move over to, be closer to Epcot or be closer to the Hollywood Studios. So that's why we do see a lot of folks, which I don't care what age you are. I don't care. Once you stay in that Epcot resort area, I truly believe once you stay at the Boardwalk or Beach Club, you have a hard time wanting to stay anywhere else. Just because if you are a fan of Epcot in particular, just to be able to walk right through the back door right there in that World Showplace, or being able to take a boat to the studios or walk to the studios. So again,
and Derek has teenagers.
And I have teenagers.
And I've got a toddler, so we're still in Magic Kingdom land, right? So we're still but Grand Floridian or Polynesian is where we stay. So that's a good kind of example.
We talk with in particular Old Key West owners, right? Which are funny because once they've had their points for so long, they're always great because they're always like, we bought at Old Key West and we love Old Key West. And every time a new resort comes out, they always quote unquote say, yeah, we tried it. But then we went back to Old Key West, right? Because they love the rooms, they love the points are cheap there too. So yeah, every resort is different for everybody's reason. But again, that's what's great about DVC is that it does kind of grow with you as your lifestyle changes, and it really depends on what you want for that particular trip. If you're just going to chill and relax, and to me, there's no better place than Animal Kingdom. You don't even have to go to the parks. Just to be able to sit on the balcony with a beer and just look at the animals, and with a big giant batch of Gideon's cookies right on your balcony.
You're just rubbing it in now.
I know, right?
Yeah, as I just glare at her when I say that. But yeah, that's you guys know they're all great for different reasons. But great question.
And yeah, I know you're bringing up the points for all these other ones, but I mean, sorry, I'm Team Polly. You're gonna have to fight me to convince me not to stay there.
I know. There's nothing better than in that pool area. Like, to me, just walking around the pool area and you just happen to look over and you're like, oh my God, that's Cinderella Castle right there, right? You know what I mean? Like, you see it just as you're sitting in your chair and listening to the music, and then at nighttime to watch the fireworks, right from the beach. And that I know. See, now I want to go there.
That one's a hard one for me to toss up. And that's not to say, the other ones definitely have their perks as well. It's just, you're right. It's what makes sense to me at the moment.
I didn't even tell you guys this yet, but just yesterday I actually booked a trip for April, end of April for my wife's birthday. We're going to stay at Boardwalk. I was shocked that I was able to get a Boardwalk room, not only a Boardwalk room, but a standard view Boardwalk room, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. I was shocked that was available right now, but it was. So I'm going to come down, and I think at the end of April, hopefully. So that just happened literally yesterday afternoon. So, but to your point, I love we love the Boardwalk area, but the idea of walking just right into the back of Epcot's amazing. But also now with the Skyliner right there, I mean, that's awesome too. That convenience to hop on the Skyliner and go to Hollywood Studios is awesome too. So we're excited to stay at Boardwalk again. It's been a little while. So.
We just need Jelly Rolls to open at night. Then you've got it complete.
Exactly. All right, Trevor, you want to do this next question from Andrew since it's kind of applicable to you?
Yeah, I'll speak for our international audience here. So Andrew brings up, he says the resale process is more complicated where it involves one or more international party. Can you explain why and what the extra processes are needed as a result?
Yeah, so I mean, when you're an international buyer, we'll start there. It's quite simple. I think a lot of people are apprehensive because they don't know how much it's going to entail. But for the most part, if you're an international buyer, it's quite simple. The only time you might ever need to kind of plan in advance is going to be one, if you're going to finance, which Monera does now offer international financing. So when you are financing, you will be required to get a notary and an acceptable U.S. notary. So that's something that you're going to have to look into depending on what country you're in. But that would only be a concern if you're financing. If you are paying for it outright, you don't need to worry about a notary. And then if you're purchasing a loan, you'll also need to get it notarized. So those are the only kind of two pauses when you're buying as an international guest to go, Where's the nearest notary? How do we find that? Of course, us as agents, we're really, really happy to help and figure those out since we deal with international buyers all the time. Everything else is done very simply over email, DocuSign, remotely. And then on the flip side, being a seller, for those of you who have heard or done research, there's something called a FIRPTA withholding. So the U.S. government withholds 15% if you are not a U.S. citizen selling property. And that's whether you're selling a timeshare or your home in Florida or in North Carolina, no matter where you're at. If you're not a U.S. citizen selling real U.S. property, the U.S. government is going to withhold 15%. Now, when you actually apply for the FIRPTA reimbursement, they only hold 15% of the capital gain. So what is capital gain? So let's say you bought your contract for XYZ and you're selling it for this. It's whatever that profit is depending from what you bought. So for most of the time when you take out like commissions and all of that, people aren't making a dramatic profit. So that 15% ends up being quite minimal. Now, it is a process to get that withholding refunded back. It can take anywhere from, again, depending on what season we're in right now with the pandemic and everything going on, it's taken a little bit longer. But normally it can take anywhere from an additional 30 days up until as many as 6 months to get that refunded. So just something to be aware of as an international seller. But we do have a certified FIRPTA agent that we work with that actually knows the Disney process very, very well. So if you are an international seller looking to sell, don't be intimidated by that. There is somebody who can hold your hand throughout that process.
That's good to know that Monera does international financing. That's good to know, right? I don't think I knew that actually. So and Trevor, you've done this process too. So sorry, Marissa.
No, you're fine. It's something new that they've added in. So
yeah, and yeah, we didn't finance. So when we bought our contract, we didn't need to do financing, which definitely changes the game a little bit. But no, it's definitely good to know and. Thank you for that, Marissa. I'm not planning to sell anytime soon, but it's definitely good to know what some of the different hoops are that we just need to be aware of. So that's appreciated.
Yeah, that's good.
Thing.
We have quite a few. We have quite a lot of international listeners. So
yes.
We're what was it the other? We were like top 20 in Canada in travel. So that's we're big in Canada. But I think it's just because we have a Canadian host. That's all. Trevor just goes around telling everyone in Canada to listen to us.
Yeah, I stand on the corner with a bullhorn and yell at Welcome Home podcast. So
that's exactly right. So Chris wants to know, how are Disney's recent changes, removals, Magical Express, annual passes affecting resale values? What do they predict will happen with resale values post COVID? Like, so once we're out of this pandemic, do you think the prices will change?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, we've noticed no change whatsoever. I mean, honestly, the market is so strong right now. I mean, we've never ever been busier in terms of, in fact, we need more sellers than than ever before. So we're kind of sounding that alarm. So if you've got a contract and you're thinking about selling, please reach out to us. The market is a great time for sellers to go ahead and list, because honestly, nothing has changed, in terms of market value and average selling prices. Again, we have 95% of our listings still sell within 30 days or less, and 80% sell within 7 days. So it's a great market right now. And in fact, you can even go onto our website. If you just even go to the search bar, you can type in just the word average, and you can actually see the average selling prices for each and every DVC resort over the last 12 months. So you can kind of see what's happened over the last year, right? When the pandemic and everything started in March and April, prices took a little bit of a dip, and now they're going right back up again. So I think overall, once we know that if there's, light at the end of the tunnel, knock on wood, fingers, toes, and every other body part crossed, that, the vaccine comes and everything opens up, we only imagine that the market's just only going to continue to even get stronger, which is great. I mean, personally, it makes me sad. And I know you guys have and will do, many more shows about, Magical Express leaving. Because I think one of your posters, I think maybe it was Dan or Jeremy, I can't remember who made a great post about it. And it really was, Jeremy. It was just such an emotional post, because it's true. Because you miss that feeling of getting off the airplane and, you know what, I'm leaving everything in the hands of Disney. And it's that feeling of, I don't have to worry about my luggage. My vacation starts right now. So it starts right now, and I'm going to go into that bubble, which is part of getting on the Magical Express. I mean, I remember before the Magical Express in the late 90s, my wife and I used to have to, we would rent a town car from a place called Florida Town Car Service, and we loved them so much because they would meet you, and the guy would have Mickey hands on at the airport. Again, it wasn't a Disney service, but then you'd get in the back of the car, and he'd have all the Disney park maps there, and he'd be playing a CD of Disney music. And so we always felt like, oh, God, we're home. We're in Disney, right? Because we're just going to our resort. So I know that feeling, and it does make me sad because for so many families, and again, even talking with Becky too, she's got, many kids, and it's like the fact of strollers and, car seats and everything else that families have to deal with. It was nice just to be able to kind of give that up. But yeah, that's a little bit of a tangent there. But yes, the market remains very strong, and I'm very sad about Magical Express.
Let me ask you. Sorry,
Tom.
Marissa, go ahead.
Disney's got, obviously, if you haven't heard, they've got their new sold out prices coming out as well, where they're increasing the prices in the next couple weeks. So I think every time Disney does that, it speaks to the value of resale again, where people go, oh, I'm going to be saving that much more. So I think we're probably going to see that kind of perfect storm within vaccines, more people traveling, plus the price increase. We'll probably in the next 6 months be talking about a fairly more significant price increase coming.
So you guys have heard, because I've heard that rumor going around, the direct prices of the sold out resorts are going up. So that you guys think that'll happen sometime in the next few weeks? Yeah.
Yeah.
Aren't they going first week of Feb?
Is it the first week of February?
I think so.
Oh, okay. And it's strange because it's not all of them. It's only certain ones.
It's only certain ones. Yeah.
Yeah. It's only.
But even ones. No matter what, whenever they do any sort of price increase, there's that trickle down effect.
Let me ask you guys this. Does the scarcity of contracts right now, because it says you guys need sellers, does that drive the price up a little bit too? Or is it just stay kind of, does it not kind of work on that like supply and demand kind of place?
So the good news is, while yes, we need a lot of sellers, we're not into a point of where like supply is so low where, like, for example, like Grand Californian is a good one. Sometimes we get to a point where Grand Californian is so low where it can jump up $20 to $30 per point. We're not like that with the current resale market. We still have a really good amount of inventory. And obviously in terms of shopping, we have the most amount of inventory compared to anybody else. But what we do like to have is we like to have as much inventory as possible for people who go, maybe I'm looking at for this specific one here or this use here or this stripped out. So maybe we don't have the perfect selection, but it's not to the point where it's like so low where we're seeing like, oh my goodness, Saratoga went up another $20 per point.
Yeah, we've got 3 Saratoga Springs contracts left, $400 a point.
That's why the app is great though, because you put that alert in. Like, so I was looking for a 100-point contract, Animal Kingdom, March use year. I put those requirements in there, and it took like a couple months for that exact contract to show up. But when it did, then it was like, oh, let's buy it. It's there. So yeah, that's why I like using your app, because you guys have that little alert thing. Now it's dangerous because then I could just put an alert in there and then it pops up and then I all of a sudden I'm buying a new contract. But
yeah, very true. We have people all the time that say, listen, I just pulled over to the side of the road because I saw you had a 30-point beach club contract. I'm like, be safe first of all, and yes, there is a down payment required.
Yeah, exactly.
Next step on your app is it needs to just go right to the Monera financing so that they could just, do it all on the phone.
Right to the application.
Yeah. Just saying.
Marissa, hire Trevor.
Trevor, you want to read Mary's question?
Yeah. So Mary asks, do you think there will always be a small contract premium? Any strategies for maximizing the value of these contracts? And do owners that have or that want to sell one contract but buy another, I didn't read that properly. Do they have owners that want to sell one contract and then buy another with the proceeds? Anything to keep in mind if that is your plan?
So I think with small contracts, it really is resort dependent. Like Derek made a joke about a small beach club. Just because at the time, if you go into the times of DVC, what is the most common point packages that they're selling during those times? If we talk beach club, Old Key West, Saratoga Springs, a lot of the time they were selling 150, 160 point minimums. Yeah. Now could they possibly do an add-on that was smaller? Yes, but they really weren't promoting it at all. Versus if we take like a Polynesian, for example, Derek and I both worked at the opening of Polynesian. We were part of that sale. And a lot of the times it was strategic to start somebody out with a 50-point or a 75-point contract just to get their feet wet. So you'll see Polynesian doesn't have as much of a premium attached on a 50 or 75 point than a beach club would, just because it is going to be a little bit more common. So it's resort dependent in terms of small contracts.
Yeah, it's actually funny you say that, because it's so true. Because when people that bought Old Key West, when Old Key West first opened, it literally was, if you wanted to buy, I think it was $270.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's it. You had to buy $270. I remember when I started, it was Animal Kingdom was just about ready to open, and it was $160. It was like $160. If you wanted to sell anything less than $160, then you had to get a manager approval and move mountains to try to sell anything less than $160. So yeah, it's very resort specific. So that's why, again, like she said, with Poly, we do see a lot of Poly smaller contracts, 50, 60 points.
And I guess we talked a little bit about the selling and buying something new, but we definitely do see that. And if you do have, strategically, if you bought and you divided your contracts up into a lot of small contracts, and you have one of those high demanded resorts, you could get a really nice premium. And let's say if you're turning around and wanting to buy more points at maybe like a cheaper resort, or just getting more points for the sake of more points, that can be a really good strategy for people with small contracts.
That's interesting. I never would have thought of it being like resort dependent like that, but it makes sense. It seems. What's the rhyme or reason to that? Like why were they like 160 for Animal Kingdom? Like, was that like a certain time period, or that's just what they wanted to sell, or like?
It literally was just a marketing decision, you know. So that, and they just kind of basically used it where they taught vacation club guides at that time, like 160 points will get you 8 to 10 nights during certain times a year in a studio, or it'll get you 5 to 6 nights in a 1-bedroom. So they just wanted to keep it consistent. It strictly was a marketing decision.
Well, even now with Riviera, because Riviera is now 125 minimum to be an official member with the Blue Card, right? So I think they're going away from, during the time, and again, we were there for Grand Floridian, Polynesian, Copper Creek. During that time, Copper Creek had to bump up to 75 points was the minimum, but it wasn't uncommon for Grand Floridian or Polynesian for you to sell a very new member 50 points. And so I think Disney wanted to go away from that. And so that's why I think they will become more rare as we go further down the line, because 125 is now the new focus. So I just think it depends on season and resort. But I do think as we go further down, we'll see less and less.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I just never thought about it that way. So yeah. All right, cool. So we have one more question on here that has nothing to do with DVC, but I had to put it on here just because Derek answered it in the group, and I feel like Derek wants to answer this question. So Dan wants to know, is there a right way and a wrong way to load a dishwasher? I have a particular way of loading it, in parentheses, the right way. My kids put things in willy-nilly, and then I come along and rearrange it. Please help me justify my actions. Derek had some strong opinions on this.
100%. And yes, this is DVC related, because remember, when you stay in a 1-bedroom and higher, you have a dishwasher in your room.
Right.
So we can slowly work it back to a DVC. But yes, I'm a firm believer that there is a right and a wrong way to load the dishwasher, Dan. I agree with you 100%, especially when it comes to bowls. Bowls have to be placed in a strategic location. It's not because I'm anal. It's not because I have OCD. It's because the water pressure from the bottom cannot get up to the very top where the bowls are. So then if you finish your load, you pull it out and you see, okay, the stuff on the bottom is all clean, but all the bowls still have dried cereal in them or anything else.
Who doesn't have a dishwasher with 2 arms these days, though?
You got the one on the top,
Yeah.
No, well, maybe I just have the wrong dishwasher now.
Didn't you just get a new one, too?
Yeah, we have a really good dishwasher. I don't even know, does mine have a thing on the top of it? But the bowls are face down, though, so that a top isn't going to spray and clean it underneath. So the top of the bowl is fine, but inside the bowl, it needs to be cleaned from the bottom up.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm having a problem with. So yes, Dan, I believe there is a way to do it. So I always tell my kids, listen, don't even waste time doing it, because I'm going to spend more time doing it.
You pre-wash your dishes before they go in the dishwasher.
That might be a good idea.
Yeah, I do that.
I don't do that.
No, I know. Who's got time for that?
I always think of that commercial where the kid goes, her mom's washing the dishes off, and then she goes, what does the dishwasher even do? I always think to myself, is like, why am I pre-washing my dishes when I'm just going to put them in the dishwasher?
Exactly.
Growing up, my mom, I was very particular with us and dishes. And she, like, I had to do dishes at a very young age. And she also was obsessed with Tetris at the time. So it was like this whole thing of like, it wasn't about placement of like bowls need to go on top. It was just like, you need to fit as much as you can into that dishwasher.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you how. So that was our big thing growing up.
That's the trick, is that, I don't want to do the dishes, so we're going to maximize space in there. And when your kids just throw stuff wherever, that you have to do more loads. So,
Especially if you happen to have a plate that's filled with leftover Gideon's cookies. It's really hard.
Oh, here we go.
Full circle, Derek. Full circle.
You're gonna have to like go get some, Derek, now and bring them to Marissa.
I know, I'm sitting here just like craving a cookie.
Yeah, let me go carve out 8 hours today to drive to Disney Springs.
Well, maybe you go to the other Orlando. Don't they have another Orlando location that's not at Disney Springs? Go to that one. I bet it's less busy.
We just don't venture out that far.
Just make sure you post in the group when you send the apology cookies.
There you go.
Exactly.
You gotta. I think you can pre-order them too on their website. All I know is I just want to go there just to go to get some Gideons. Like I'm gonna make a special trip to Disney Springs when I go down just to get Gideons because I really want some of those cookies.
Marissa will bring you some to the boardwalk. That's part of her new sales director job.
I like it. That sounds good.
Get right on that.
So we love having you guys on. We could talk to you guys for hours, but what's the best way they can contact you if any of our listeners want to talk to you, ask you questions, if they want to buy a contract, if they have questions about selling a contract, any of that stuff? How do they reach out to you guys?
Yeah, so our website is dvcresalemarket.com. Head on over, check on out. We've done a little bit of upgrading, got a new logo, so come see us if you haven't in a while. To reach out to us, email is probably the easiest way to get myself or Derek. It's really, really simple. It's just our names. So mine is MARISSA at dvcresalemarket.com, and Derek's is DEREK at dvcresalemarket.com. But always mention, if you're putting an offer in and saying, hey, I want Derek as my agent or Marissa, or if you're emailing, mention welcome home, because we love to know where you came from. And honestly, you guys are some of the best listeners because we know our welcome home listeners are super educated and know what's going on. And it's super fun. Like Derek and I get so excited when we see welcome home in the comments because we go, oh, awesome. They've got to hear this or learn about that. So it's really great.
They've been taught by the expert Trevor.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh boy.
But yes, please put that in the comments, because then when we see that it's an offer from Welcome Home, then Marissa and I get to both work on it with you. So you actually get both of us for the price of one contract.
The low price of one.
Well, that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. So
that's funny. Yeah, no, we appreciate when everybody does that, and every once in a while I get emails from Derek or Marissa going, we had all these people from the show reach out to us, and we know you guys always hear from our listeners a lot after you guys show up on the show too. So, and plus they're in our Facebook group too, so you can just throw a tag out there for Derek or Marissa, and then they can answer in there too. So
we love it. We love being able to come on. We love your audience. You guys are just so interactive with each other and fun, and your members have such passion for you guys and passion for the show and passion for Disney. So for us, it's just an absolute no-brainer. So we love coming on.
We love having you guys on, and you guys have been, for so many, for years now. What are we coming up on? 4 years, Trevor and Damon? I think it's 4 years.
Yeah, I guess it is.
We've been part.
Yeah, and you guys have been there since the beginning. I think the first time we had Nick on, but then after that, Nick was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And said, you guys.
I've got to slowly plot to take over the world. I ain't got time to do this show.
He doesn't have time to do our podcast anymore. So, no, we love having you guys on, and you guys are always so informational, and everybody really enjoys it. So, as you could see from all the questions that were asked, people were excited for you guys to be on. So, please reach out to Derek and Marissa for your questions about this. If you're selling a contract, buying a contract, please, or reach out to them about any of this stuff. They'll help you out. So we appreciate you guys coming on. Thanks again.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for having us.
Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for everything, and go Buccaneers.
Woohoo!
All right.
We just lost half our audience on that comment.
Yeah.
You better address that. Exactly.
Damon, you're not a Green Bay fan, are you?
I am a not Tom Brady fan.
That's me too. I just root against Tom Brady at all costs. So that's where
I would agree with that.
Perfect. I like to go out with a bang.
All right, so let me go ahead and put my Bucks hat back on.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming.
Wait, is there a bet that if Green Bay wins, I don't have to put money down on a contract?
I don't know. I don't think that's how it works.
Now, if you're willing to take that bet, I'm all in.
That's how you start the second part of the show. Got how to do it. I love it. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. I mean,
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks
we love having you guys on. So thank you again, as always. So, and I'll see if when I come down in April, I'll see if I can carve out some time to hang out with you guys if I can. It's for my wife's birthday, so I don't know what we're going to be doing yet. We're still figuring it out. We literally just decided yesterday that we were going to go down. So yeah,
believe me, if you have time, I would love to just swing by anywhere you're at just to say hi in person. That's it. I'm not going to.
We'll make it happen. We'll meet at Gideon's. How's that?
Let me know when you're at the front of the line. I'll be there.
I think there's a limit of 4 per person, so
I will come and help load your dishwasher for you.
There you go.
And then that's it. Thank you, guys.
All right, so great having Derek and Marissa on. We love having them on, and I know anytime we have them on, you guys always love it too. So actually, we should do our ad really quick here.
No, you can't do the ad right here. You got to take a break.
We got to take a break.
Don't be that other podcast.
You don't want to do an ad right here?
No, you got to have another section in because it's like a mini ad in and of itself.
There's a new section called Damon's Random Topics of the Week.
I totally hate the name. But we'll
what do you want to call it?
I don't know.
I mean, it's fitting, right? It's 3 topics that are not related.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Let's talk about masks. I know that masks are a big thing, and I know that we had our first post in the group that I thought was very well done. We actually talked a little bit about masks, and everyone was very cordial, which again, I want to say thank you for, because that's always nice to be able to have an adult discussion about masks, because that's, it's a good topic to have a discussion about. Anyway, so I know that we're waiting on some other masks to come, but I was able to get the primal masks. So I had originally gotten the 2.0. It's kind of a cool mask. It's got pineapples on it. It's neat. And it does have a strap on the back also to kind of hold it in place. But what I was actually able to do is that they just have a new one. It's the 3.0, right? Surprise, surprise. And I was able to order it for my daughter because I know that one of the big things we've been talking about is masks for sports or exercising, which really is kind of Disney related, because if you can exercise in something, then you can walk around Disney with it as well. So I got this 3.0 mask, and what's really nice about it is that the layer of fabric, the interior layer of fabric now is copper woven to be antibacterial, and to, nice and fresh smelling and all that. So all they really did from the 2 to the 3, it looks like, is they made everything a little bit cleaner in terms of their stitching and the way that this 3D printed, it almost looks like a Mobius inside of it. And it's kind of cool. It holds the mask away from your face a little bit. And what it was nice about that is that it was, like I said, it helps you breathe a little bit easier because the mask doesn't suck in, which is great, right? And it's like I said, there's a little plastic piece, but this, like I said, has a nice layer inside, which is copper fitted. It's a little bit, tighter stitching and a little bit more well done for the pocket to hold this plastic piece. Totally great mask. I think my daughter's going to end up wearing it for soccer, and I think it's going to work out well. I know, like I said, we have some people in the group that are trying some other masks as well, but I like the previous iteration, so this really just takes it a step further. So I think that's a definite bonus in terms of masks. I keep on asking if anyone wants me to order any of the other masks that we kind of went on the list, because I'm more than happy to order and test them out. But if everyone's, all good, then, I'm not going to just continue to order masks unless we, have that need. So if there's any other masks you'd like me to test out, especially in terms of exercising or walking, please just let me know. All right, so let's see. These are random topics.
You already talked about your baking, though, right?
Yeah, I did.
So now we just got to hear about your Disney dream.
My Disney dream. I have to bring up my notes because, when you have a dream, I feel like you really have to take notes on that. So I felt like I went for notes. So let me just bring up my phone and let me bring up my notes.
I'll tell you really quickly while you're doing that. I have a recurring Disney nightmare dream where we go and then I can't get anybody to do anything. Like, it'd be like, I seriously, this is a nightmare I have all the time where we're like in the parks and I'm like, oh, let's go to Big Thunder. And everyone's like, like we can't, nobody wants to move or do anything. And then we get lost somehow, even though, I could navigate blindly through Magic Kingdom if I needed to. Like, it's a whole reoccurring dream with that, with getting lost and not being able to get enough done at Disney World.
That seems like a nightmare.
I feel like that's the same kind of nightmare as like when you're trying to run and you're not moving. Like,
yes, that's what it is, Trevor. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's like literally, it's like there's always a reason why we can't go to the next thing. And then like next thing you know, it's nighttime and we've got nothing accomplished. Okay. That's the things I stress dream about.
I mean, that's a good one. This was far more interesting. Like, no disrespect to that. I get those dreams. My reoccurring dream is not graduating college. Just in case anyone's curious about like what everyone's reoccurring dreams are. Mine is not graduating college. And like, it was so funny because I'm in my, final year and school was hard. I went to a really hard school. It was super hard. I will never do that to my kids. I'm just letting everyone know. So I'm trying to finish this thing. And one of the things that we had to do is we had to create, this is for all these IT people. I was going to school for computer engineering. We had to recreate Pascal in computer language, right? So we had to create the whole program of Pascal with, computer language. Okay. And what happened is that my teacher was brand new that year, right? Brand new. I gave it a best effort. I would consider giving it an F effort because I really was just way too overwhelmed. But either so was everyone else, or it was a first year teacher and I ended up with a C and I was like the happiest person ever. So I always have dreams about not completing college. But anyway, this is not what this dream is about. This dream was actually really cool. So it was not at Walt Disney World. I feel like it had to be in some made up place in Disney. So me, Trevor, and Tom, and the reason this becomes relevant is because me, Trevor, and Tom are all together in this booth. It's like almost like a popcorn booth, let's say, but we were selling something, but I don't know what it was, but it was during Halloween. Now, here's the thing. I've met Tom a few times. I've never actually met Trevor. So Trevor was actually the dude from Mr. Beast, the friend with the goatee. That was you, Trevor.
Okay.
All right.
Sure,
we've been
not?
watching a lot of Mr. Beast lately, so I think that's how that kind of fit in there. But what's very interesting is that so there was this huge field. I said it was definitely Halloween and it was at night. And everyone had, and maybe I should piece these two together because everyone had these really cool light up headless horseman bracelets. So maybe that's what we were selling, but they were the coolest things I've ever seen. They were these bracelets and it was kind of like, a TikTok sort of watch. Like, so the head, which was lit up in neon, which is obviously impossible, right, for the size of this device, was kind of going back and forth, left and right, left and right. And then the headless horseman actually comes, but there's this huge field in Disney. Like, it's set up for, I don't know what, like kind of like Central Park in the middle of Disneyland. It was a very interesting dream though. Like I said, I don't know where we were going with all of this, but we had this booth. And again, I'm assuming it must have been we were selling these cool bracelets. I don't know why Disney doesn't make these things. They look pretty darn awesome. And then the Headless Horseman is just riding around on his horse throughout this pseudo Disney area. I'm going to imagine that maybe it's what I think Disneyland is like. It had this like, maybe it was Disneyland.
Maybe you're dreaming of the Esplanade in Disneyland, which is like the big central area between the two parks.
I don't know. It was very neat though. It was a very vivid dream. And I woke up and I was like, man, I got to write this one down. So we're asking everyone else if they've had the, Disney dreams, maybe like Tom's where you're, I don't know, worried about people not going on rides or weird ones like mine. Just let us know. That was really it. It wasn't super exciting, but it was just kind of cool. I just love the fact that Trevor was not Trevor and he was the dude from Mr. Beast. That
is pretty great.
Yeah.
You're just filling gaps because you don't know. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I had one before where I was going to Disneyland, but I'd never been to Disneyland. But when we were like pulling up, it was like a mud parking lot, and we had to like walk through the woods to get to the front gate. Like it was weird. And I've also had them too, where I've had dreams where like it ends up being like a mix of Six Flags and like Disney. So it was like, yeah. So because like I went to Six Flags a ton when I was a kid, and like so it would be like a mix of certain things from Six Flags.
Wait, hold on. One, you have pictures of Six Flags. Two, what the heck did you do there? All there is
we've had this discussion before. Remember the Skull Mountain thing? We had that discussion.
Yeah, I always forget.
Yeah, no, we always had season passes when I was a kid. But yeah, no, I've had that dream.
Did I tell you I actually finally watched, what's it called?
What, the Action Park documentary? No.
Yeah. Yeah, I
great,
did.
Right? It was great.
Yeah. My daughter was like befuddled that such a place could exist. Yeah, it was amazing because she was like, I can't believe something like this existed. And you went? And then it was funny because I was talking to my mom and she was like, what do you mean you went all the time? And I was like, yeah, probably every weekend. And she's like, well, how? And I was like, well, my parents were divorced, right? So
Sure,
my father would always take me. And I guess he never told my mom that he was taking me. So like I was there all the time. And then I had to go back in my head and think like, who did I go with? It's like, no, I went there an awful lot by myself as like a 13-year-old, just all the time being there. My stepsister went with me probably once or twice. Like I know I went with a friend once or twice, but honestly, most of the time I was there by myself, which is crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Absolutely bonkos. So I thought that was interesting.
It's even weird to me though, too. Like, and those, for those that don't know, we're talking about the documentary Class Action Park, which is based on Action Park, which is a known as the most dangerous amusement park in the country, or probably in the world, I would say. And it's on HBO Max. So if you have HBO Max, check it out. It's really, really good. But it's funny, Damon, because like later when I was older, I was camp counselor, and this was after it wasn't Action Park anymore. But a lot of the same stuff was still there. What's that?
Mountain Creek.
Yeah, it was Mountain Creek, but a lot of the same rides were still there. It's not like it was all that different.
Well, no, because, and again, what I was trying to explain to my daughter is that I was able to kind of witness cliff diving from its inception to what it eventually became, over the course of the years. And I remember the first time going over there, people could do flips. You could do whatever you wanted off of it, and you didn't even have to wait for the people underneath to leave before you jumped off, right? So that was iteration 1. And then iteration 2 was you kind of sort of had to pretend like you were waiting for the people on the bottom to get off. Okay. And then they changed it to no flips. You could just dive. And it was interesting that was the point that I dove. This was like a big, rite of passage, was diving off of the cliffs, cliff diving, because they're not small.
No.
And the pool, again, I was always a strong swimmer, right? I was always on swim team. So that wasn't the problem. It was still super scary. So then you could dive. And then I remember going where all you could do is jump. So each ride went through this different, process of iterations. And it's like, if you were there in the beginning, wow.
It's way tamer now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't realize how many people had, again, I remember going into the Tarzan swing, and it was funny revisiting that and realizing how much social pressure was on you to do that when there was literally 300 people screaming obscenities at you.
Oh, yeah.
If you didn't go and do it and at least try to do something semi-cool, and heaven forbid you mess that up. Oh, it could have been the worst thing ever, because you were scared to do something poorly. And then I didn't realize how many people had heart attacks on that because of the cold.
Because of the cold water.
Yeah, because I would always go in and be like, wow, this is the coldest water I think I've ever been in. And I've polar beared as well. And it was still felt like it was colder than that because it was so warm outside, right? It was the discrepancy of the temperatures was so huge. And I didn't realize how many people had problems because of that. And then the cannonball that went underground, like my daughter says to me, she goes, what if you got stuck in it and you're underground? Like, what did they do? And I was like, well, they try to push more water through. Well, what if you don't come out? Well, I guess that's it for you, right? And it was interesting because I went with my wife at one point. So I don't even know how that factors in, because I don't even remember the year. I mean, it must have been, so that must have been the same sort of time that you went when it was Mountain Creek, because this was in the 90s at that point. And I
would have gone late 90s, early 2000 probably.
Yeah, and this would have been probably mid to late 90s. And she went down it, and she hates water rides. I mean, obviously we've heard a bunch of water ride stories, right? So she hates, and this is probably what did her in, is that I said that we would take her out to dinner. I would take her out to dinner at her favorite place. If she did it, she did it. She was so mad that whole day. And then the place we were supposed to go to, because I waited too long to take her, closed down. And then I was in the doghouse, I feel like forever on that one. So
yeah, it's a good documentary. I'm glad you finally watched it, because it brought up some fun memories of New Jersey.
Yes, it did.
It is called Action Park again, though, too. They brought it back. It's like the son of the original owner brought it back, and now it's Action Park again. I don't know if it's still open at this point, but
I'm sure there's all kinds of disclaimers around what Action Park.
I'm sure they fixed up a lot of things. I'm sure. So
no, for sure. So that's cool that you finally got to watch it.
So just a little aside to that, you're talking about documentaries and crazy things back, in the late 80s and 90s. I didn't realize this, so in Alberta, or in Edmonton specifically, there's West Edmonton Mall is a large, it's it's a big mall that has an amusement park in it. And there's a roller coaster inside of that amusement park, which it turns out, so I knew there was a couple of accidents that happened there back in the 80s and 90s. Like, unfortunately, it was very tragic. There was people that died. But that particular roller coaster is the reason for a lot of these safety precautions that we have nowadays on roller coasters.
Oh,
so if you guys are interested, look up the Mind Bender at West Edmonton Mall. And I found some interesting things on YouTube if you want to learn a little bit of roller coaster history.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's do this ad really quick, like way late in the show.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, for DVC Rental Store. DVC Rental Store, a World of DVC company, offers magical vacations at incredible value. Save up to 60% off retail rates at premium Disney resorts. DVC Rental Store now includes deposits as low as 25% at the time of booking and a built-in cancellation policy for every reservation. And as always, DVC Rental Store pays out the most to members looking to rent their points. Want to learn more? Go to dvcrentalstore.com or call 1-855-DVC-RENT. That's 1-855-382-7368. Of course, as always, let them know that Welcome Home sent you. Please make sure you tell them that. As you heard from Derek and Marissa for DVC Resale Market and Monero and all those places, it's very important to say that. So, again, dvcrentalstore.com or 1-855-DVC-RENT. All right.
Cool. All right. Now, yeah, we are getting towards the end of this, but we do have a couple of
things in here.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
did you watch this video? Did you watch this Imagineering video of this new Spider-Man ride?
I haven't. Not yet. So
you got to pop it up real quick because it's pretty cool.
So this is specifically about the 3D glasses that they're using. Is this the video with Tom?
Tom Holland? So the video they share shows them on the ride and like how you actually interact with the ride, which is pretty cool. So like there's no gun or anything, like you just, and I think we heard about this before, but seeing it in action was kind of cool. So like you wear 3D glasses on this Spider-Man ride it's coming to California Adventure, and basically you do like the Spider-Man like shooting web motion as your shooter, and like Disney has like built some technology, some like motion sensing technology into the ride vehicle, so like you're just using your hand to shoot stuff. It's pretty cool.
I can totally see that because, believe it or not, I actually have, so I got a VR, set up for Christmas, and the controllers that I have, even though they're still controllers, they strap to your hand, but they actually sense your individual finger movements.
That's awesome.
So in games, I can literally like grab stuff with my hand and pick it up and throw like throwing a ball and stuff like that. So this is not that far of a stretch to.
Yeah, and you're not even holding anything though.
Yeah,
too. It's like
exactly. This is that next level of this technology already exists. It's cool that they're implementing it in a way which also considering with the way things are right now, the more that I know that you still have to put on 3D glasses, but yeah, not having to touch something is kind of a big thing, but still making it interactive is very cool. So
I mean, it's really funny though to watch the video. Like if you guys haven't seen this video, go like search for it because it's out there. I think it's on. I'll put it on the show notes. I'm pretty sure it's through Disney Parks blog, so I'll put it in the show notes. But it's kind of funny to watch everybody in the ride vehicle doing this because you just kind of look silly, like it looks silly, all the hand motions that they're doing. But in context, I guess it won't. But seeing it like that was kind of funny. I was also excited too to just see the thing with Tom Holland like doing like the ride video, because it was making me laugh because they had a mini version of the ride vehicle on the table as he was doing his intro, and it just made me think of Dinosaur and like that whole beginning sequence where they have the ride vehicle model just sitting there. I love when they do that, when they have the ride vehicle there. I don't know why.
Like that weird like meta kind of reference to the ride. Yeah.
Yeah. It just kind of, for some reason, I just like that. I think it's kind of funny and neat when they do that. And Dinosaur has one of the better pre-ride videos too, I would say. So
yeah, I would agree on the topic of, the looking silly when you're doing the motions. I actually had this conversation literally last night with my brother because, we both have VR headsets and we've been playing a lot of VR games together. And we both agreed, at one point my brother, he had his webcam on. He forgot that he had left it on, and as we were talking, and then he was like, "Oh, I should turn that off." And I pointed out that, when you're doing stuff, whether it's in VR or something interactive, it always feels a lot more amazing than it looks. Like when you're doing certain motions, you're like, oh, I'm attacking something with a sword, or this feels awesome. But then if you watch what's actually happening, it never looks like it never looks cool. Yeah, it never looks cool or flashy or anything, right? It's always like, okay, yeah.
That's what I always said about the Void. I was like, somebody has to be sitting behind the scenes watching the video feed of people walking around like this and just laughing, like, because it has to look hilarious, right? Just people walking into stuff and reacting to things that they can't see. It's just really funny. But this looks cool. I'm excited for this to open whenever, they can open it. It kind of seems like the ride is mostly done, based on this, because they filmed this a long time ago and they're just releasing it now. So it just seems to be that the park needs to reopen. So
yeah, I think that's probably the bigger challenge, is that they're just waiting for a green light on the park reopening. And I wouldn't be surprised if Avengers Campus comes, hard and fast with the park reopening.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would think that they would do that quickly, and but it was neat to see. I like the behind the scenes stuff like that. I think it's kind of cool to get to see that. So
yeah.
And then some news just came out too that the Festival of the Lion King is going to be returning to Disney World, which I think is great. It's going to be a little modified, obviously. If you've ever done that show, you're kind of sitting on top of people and on bleachers, so I'm sure they're going to space that out a little bit, but. It looks like they're also going to do some physical distancing too for the performers. So, but I think this is great that entertainment, like the live entertainment's coming back. So
yeah, and I think that this is sorely needed right now, because
agreed. Yeah,
obviously we talked about the Magical Express earlier, and all the feelings around that. This is the same kind of thing, and I guess I feel Jeremy wrote that post about the Magical Express. I understand the point of view that he's coming from. There is definitely a lot of emotion and everything around it. And I guess when we talked about it last week, we weren't, for us, we don't have that feeling around it, but that doesn't invalidate any of your feelings around it.
Absolutely.
The same thing goes for Festival of the Lion King. Is, for me, this show was never something that, like, I liked it, but it wasn't at the top of my list.
Yeah.
But again, that doesn't mean, I think the fact that they're bringing it back just shows, there's so many other shows that need to come back as well. I'm glad that they are focusing on this, because it is near and dear to a lot of people. And I feel that it's a good sign. People keep talking about, what is left of Disney? What, they keep taking everything away. What do we have left? And it's like, we talked about this months ago, is that you're not, things had to dial back. Things had to, be put down to the bare minimum. They will come back eventually. It's just, we have to be patient. And, again, this is a good sign that, hopefully in the next couple of months, you will start seeing these things come back. And then, maybe in a year or so, we'll be back up to, close to where we were before everything closed down.
Yeah, I'm glad about this too. I think this is a great thing. It feels like a light at the end of the tunnel, right? It feels like things will slowly start to come back. Like it almost feels like this is like the first thing in a series of things that will happen. You know what I mean? Like this is the first shoe to drop, basically. The one disappointing thing I did see is that the Tumble Monkeys will not be part of this, which is actually probably my favorite part of this show, but it's understandable.
It's fair, because that whole part of the show is very, the acrobats in that party, it is very hands-on and very interactive,
close to each other.
And I understand, I'm sure that those guys are still, training together and all that, but again, there's still just a higher risk with it. And,
I get it. I mean, again, and then those will come back at some point too. But I've also seen that show without them too. Like they've, there was one time I don't know if like one of them was sick or hurt or something, but the show, happened and there was no Tumble Monkeys. Cause I'm guessing that's a very specific skill set that they don't have a lot of backups for. Right.
There was a documentary piece on there, the behind the scenes for them. I can't remember if it was on Disney Parks blog or.
Oh yeah. I remember watching that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody hasn't watched that, go look it up. And those guys, they put in a ton of work to do that.
I mean,
so.
if you watch it, I'm always amazed by it. I'm like, how can you even do that? Like it amazes me every time. I'm always shocked by it, and that's my favorite part of the show, I'd say. So it was disappointing the one time I saw it and they weren't in it, but it's still a great show. The singing's great. All the other stuff is great. It's overall it's just an excellent show. But the Tumble Monkeys are definitely a highlight for me. So yeah. But again, those will come back eventually. This is all stuff that's let's going slowly in phases, right?
Exactly. And like you said, hopefully this is the first in a line of announcements. Let's wait and see what happens going into the summer. Maybe you will see, things like Phantasmic come back and fireworks and all those kinds of things as things calm down. But even if they don't happen over the summer, like I said, it's hard. And, especially for us, being international, it's even harder is, I want to go down there so bad, but it's also, we have to learn a little bit of patience right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about, because we talked about last week, everybody was freaking out about the annual pass thing going away for Disneyland. But they've already sent out a survey now to current, annual pass holders about, what the future could look like. And this is kind of what I expected, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of what I expected. There's still going to be an annual pass thing, right? It's just going to be, there's different options they're going to offer. So from this survey, it looks like a lot of what they're doing, and to everybody out there, most people know this, and we said this last show, Disneyland's very different than Disney World, right? So the current annual pass system there, the parks were getting too busy to the point where they actually had basically put in a pass that was you had to put in reservations ahead of time to come, because they were trying to lessen the crowds. The crowds were crazy. So now what it looks like they're doing is they're going to have different tiers of these passports that have different lengths of reservation windows. So 90 days out, 60 days out, same day, anytime, like that kind of thing, which I think is great. Yeah, I think that makes sense, actually.
Yeah, and again, I think, at least for this foreseeable future, that this is not 100% replacement for an annual pass. Make no mistake about that. Like you said, Disneyland is in a position where, when they open back up, they can't afford to have just a ridiculous amount of annual pass holders there.
Yeah.
As much as having an annual pass at Disney World, you want that. Everybody wants that. But, Disney has to, they're thinking beyond just admission to the park. And that's the biggest problem here is, that this is just factoring, you're getting admission, but, they need to start making money again on hotel, souvenirs, all that kind of stuff. Food, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as much as, none of us wants to hear it, I'm not saying, in my opinion, this wouldn't be the best thing. If I had the option to get an annual pass at Disneyland, I would take that opportunity. But, the fact that they're not offering it, I think, for a lot of people, it's, just like we were talking about with Lion King is, we got to be patient and just see how things unfold here over the next, really, we're going to be talking at least another year to 2 years before things get back to resembling normal again. Yeah.
I kind of like these flexible annual passes. I almost wish there was an annual pass for Disney World where it was cheaper and you could only go 20 days a year or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? That would be perfect.
Almost like a ticket book kind of thing where you just buy so many admissions and then you can decide when to use them, but it's at a discount.
And right? I mean, yes, could I buy a 20 days worth of tickets? I mean, yeah, I guess, but not right now. But I mean, I could. It's but it would just be kind of cool to have a pass holder option like that. And this is, it looks like what they're doing is they're varying the reservation window times, how many reservations people can hold at a time. Some of the options have anytime reservations, so I guess that just means they can show up whenever. So I mean, it's interesting what they're testing out here. But this is, I mean, it's still an annual pass. It's different flexibility options, right?
Yeah.
It's just different ways of using it. And, obviously the cheaper options don't get as much flexibility and the more expensive options get more flexibility, right? That's always how it works. So I think this is interesting. And I think it's a good idea that they're surveying the annual pass holders to see what features they want the most,
Yeah, exactly. I don't disagree with you there, and it's going to be it's going to be interesting, I guess, how quickly they change this. Like, I'll be curious. This will probably be in place for at least the next 6 months to a year. But I mean, I've also, I guess I'm thinking back to like 2015, 2016 era with them, is that they were like Disneyland. They will shift gears very quickly when they need to.
Yeah.
Like I remember like a couple of times a year they announced changes to park tickets and stuff like that. And people were surprised. They were like, they just changed it. Why are they doing it again? And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of volatility in this going forward.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, I could also see whatever they decide now being the new option for a while. Not even like a temporary option.
It could be a baseline, right?
Yeah.
And then you'll see it slowly expand out from there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so I got a reckless speculation on here because I think this is funny.
Sure. Let's. Actually, my wife will appreciate this because she loves Disney popcorn. So,
go ahead.
So the speculation is they filed a permit for a new popcorn kiosk.
Imagineering filed a permit specifically.
What does
what could Imagineering do with a popcorn cart? Like, that's what I'm asking here. I just
like that better be like a Willy Wonka level like popcorn kiosk if Imagineering.
This is why I put this in reckless speculation, because I want to speculate not on the fact that they have a new popcorn cart that they're gonna, or kiosk that they're gonna put in Epcot, but why did Imagineering design something like, what could this popcorn kiosk possibly be?
Yeah, and the location of it is that, or that's just south of where the old the Mouse Gears building was, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of right by Test Track.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and yeah. Okay. So there's the playground. Sorry, I'm just looking at the map here. So that's there's that little playground there by Test Track.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, and I guess, okay. So, and that's also, what are they calling it now? Is it Future
World Celebration?
World Celebration. That's okay. That's what the current name is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've lost track of all the
all the changes,
the renames. Okay, so it's World Celebration. It'll definitely be futuristic, themed. Like,
yeah, it's got to be, right.
Yeah. So what could you do with popcorn and the future?
Well, first of all, it better be that flavored popcorn like they have art by the Imagination Pavilion, because that's the best popcorn at all at Disney. I will die on that hill.
my wife gets mad at me because I love the like buffalo and blue cheese popcorn.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, I love that. And she's always like, why do you get that? That's just ruining it. I'm like, no.
See, I'll get either the cheddar there or the what is it, sour cream and chive, I think is the other one, or ranch and chive.
Yeah.
And both of those are really good. The cheddar one is the most cheddary popcorn I've ever had in my entire life. I mean, they're so full flavored. That's they better have the same one. But here's the thing. They're going to build a kiosk. I'm expecting at least 5 flavors of popcorn. At least.
Right. Yeah,
like they got to expand the flavor
or seasonal. I mean, they
seasonal. Yeah,
they could definitely do something following Food and Wine and Festival of the Arts and stuff like that. They could offer some real gourmet popcorns. I don't know how. Actually, I mean, I guess you could get crazy with it. Coincidentally, I was watching. Alton Brown, which I'm sure most people know who Alton Brown is, and him and his wife were making popcorn, but he always does this thing where he compares like his method of doing things versus them buying like an appliance. So like in this case, they bought just a cheap air popper, and then he got a wok and was like doing all this elaborate stuff. But his popcorn looked really good. And like you're talking about like cheese popcorn, like his looked like really good cheese popcorn. But then he was like bringing out all these different spices and stuff that he was talking about, that like it's crazy things that I wouldn't have thought about that you could put on popcorn. Like, yeah, there's definitely a lot of options there if somebody's willing to explore it.
Well, and there was at one point, I don't know if this is there anymore, but I remember there was like a maple syrup popcorn in the Canada Pavilion, if I remember correctly. at one point, but I don't know if they still have that or not. That might be not. I don't know. I'm not up on that. That sounds good to me, though. I need that.
I guess that's we get like maple caramel popcorn up here. So
that sounds good. That sounds pretty good.
I didn't think of that as a big deal. I'm like, oh yeah, maple, whatever.
But see, that's an option too. You can throw some kettle corn in there. I just want to know what this kiosk is going to look like, because I mean, if Imagineering designed something, I mean, this has got to be pretty cool. Yeah. Right. I mean, I would hope so. It's just weird. I found it weird, so I needed to throw it in here because I just thought it was funny. It's like, what is Imagineering doing their time? Like, you think that they have other things to work on than designing a popcorn kiosk, but
well, I mean, they are involved in everything. And I guess, even thinking about in Magic Kingdom, the different so like if you go to the different popcorn stands in Magic Kingdom and even in Disneyland, is that going through the different lands. They have, so it'll be like inside of each of the popcorn stand, there's a little mini figurine that's like turning a crank to make the popcorn. And in every area, it's different. So like near the Matterhorn in Disneyland, it's the Yeti. In Frontierland, there's a cowboy, stuff like that. So, I guess
somebody had to design that.
Yeah. And I guess that's the thing is, we're thinking about this, this thing better be, grand and elaborate and everything. And sometimes it's literally just, somebody doing that detail work, right?
I want there to be like Tesla coils on either side. I want like at night for it to be crazy neon colored. And I want it to be the coolest popcorn cart that's ever existed.
So I think the thing that we have to be cognizant of is that, Epcot definitely had that 90s futuristic vibe, which was a lot of neon and like synth and stuff like that. And I don't think that's where it's going.
Well, no, they're updating that vibe, right? So they're making it more futuristic now.
Yeah,
right?
which is not neon.
That's probably part of why Imagineering is part of this, right? So Imagineering is handling the reimagination of Epcot, so they probably needed it also to, because that old popcorn cart is the old kind of feel to it, right? It's I think it's like blue and purple if I remember correctly. Yeah, and it's got that. It's just not it's not fitting the new motif, so maybe that's why they got to do that. I don't know. But I just thought this was a fun place to end it. we should end the show.
Yeah, we definitely should. Yeah. We've kind of gone all over the place, but I think this was a great. It was great having Derek and Marissa on, and it was like I think it was needed, and I hope that people got a lot of good info out of this one, because I think it was. They touched on some things that I haven't thought about in a while.
Yeah, and we try to have them on every few months, and at some point soon here we'll have somebody on from Monera, and we'll have somebody on from DVC Resale. So I mean, rental, not resale. Sorry, DVC Rental. So we are going to bring those people on, since they are our partners in the show here, and we do also we find them informative, and we want to inform you guys of these things. So it's not just a plug for our sponsors; it's information. So
exactly.
So anyway,
if we didn't appreciate what they were doing, we wouldn't be asking them to sponsor our show. So
exactly.
Think of it that way. Yeah. Okay, so are we ready to wrap this up then? I guess so.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, do it.
No, all right, good. So as usual, if you guys have any questions on anything you heard on the show, if you want to reach out to us, share your own thoughts, you can always find us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys, and you guys are so good at giving us questions, giving us discussions, just sharing your own stories too is super great. If we get questions from there for the next episode of the podcast. So if you heard something on the show, or if you have your own questions, that's a good way to get them to us. If you
we also found out that after the last episode, everybody disagreed with us about Magical Express. So that was good to know that we failed you miserably.
Well, no, I mean that's good, and that's appreciated, because we don't we have our own views on these things, but our views are not all encompassing. So.
Well, and it's a different perspective too, because Damon and I drive, so it's not a service that really affects us. It really only affects you, and you just didn't have that same love for it that others did. So it's
not that I don't love it. It's just that I have already mentally prepared myself for what the world looks like without it.
Yeah,
that's the only difference.
I got it. But no, we appreciate, differing opinions. So
Exactly.
it's good if you want to get in that group and call us out on something. It's fine to do that. Except, Jeremy, you are now permanently banned from the group. Just to let you know. But for disagreeing with us and causing trouble. Anyway, I'm just kidding. We do like that kind of stuff. So please join the group.
Exactly. Yeah, and actually, yeah. So coming back on that is, first of all, if you guys want to find us on Facebook, you can find us as Welcome Home Podcast. The group that Tom was talking about is the Welcome Home Disney Waitlist. If you want to get in there and get into the conversations that we're having. And then there's also our YouTube channel, which is called Welcome Home Podcast. Anytime we do live streams or Facebook live videos, stuff like that, all those things will show up on the YouTube channel. So one place for you to find those streams when we post them. We also have Instagram. So as we do our episodes, you'll see a couple times a week we'll get Instagram posts up there, and you can find us on Instagram as Welcome Home Pics. And if you guys like us enough that you want to actually have some merchandise, you can go to store.welcomehomepodcast.com. You can pick up masks, mugs, t-shirts, any of that kind of stuff if you want to actually have some merchandise. And as usual, if you guys are listening to us on iTunes or Spotify or any of those places where you can leave a review, please do leave reviews. Obviously, we do look at the reviews and we read them, and we like hearing your feedback. So that's important.
Got a bunch of them because Damon asked for them on the group, so we just got a whole bunch.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that those reviews help other people find the show and hopefully find it useful as to whether or not they should be listening to us.
5 stars. Make sure you do 5 stars. That's what's most important to me. But if you want to trash us in the comments and do 5 stars,
I would rather people be honest. But I'll take the middle ground on this. So you want the 5 stars? Damon wants the 1 stars. Somewhere in the middle is fine by me.
Yeah, in a weird way, every time there's one of those 1 stars, we laugh about them, but it motivates Damon to do more. Damon gets super motivated by the 1-star reviews, so it's kind of funny. But I get motivated by the 5-star reviews, so throw those my way. Okay, so don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you'll be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere you can find podcasts. You can find us. Just search for Welcome Home. Look for the one that says Disney and DVC. Look for the castle made out of microphones. You can find us that way too. So, and just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, any and all information we give to you today is, our opinions. Those are our own opinions. So if you have any actual questions, ask Disney or DVC, because we are not the experts on this, despite, what we like to pretend to be. So please check in with Disney or DVC if you have any questions about anything we talked about today. Huge thank you to Derek and Marissa from DVC Resale Market for coming on today. We loved having them on. Please check them out, talk to them, interact with them in our group, send them emails. Whatever you want to do, reach out to them. They love hearing from our listeners. And of course, big thank you to our sponsor of this episode, DVC Rental Store, as well. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no